She doesn't feel comfortable if you're there. That was the message. No Merry Christmas. No let's talk later. Just that. It landed in my inbox at 8:17 p.m. on December 23rd, sent by my mother. And it split something inside me so clean, so sudden, I didn't even realize I'd stopped breathing. The full message read, "Hey sweetie, just a heads up. Madison's been feeling a little uneasy, and we just want to keep the peace. Maybe you sit this one out this year." Madison, my brother's girlfriend, someone I'd known for 6 months, someone who looked me up and down at Thanksgiving and made it clear I was a bit much, her words. And now? She didn't feel comfortable with me around. So my parents chose her comfort over my presence, without hesitation, without discussion. Just like that, I was out. I read the message again, then a third time, just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. But no, it was real. This wasn't a scheduling error or a miscommunication. This was intentional erasure, and not even a dramatic one, just tidy. My thumb hovered over the reply button for a full minute. 1,000 things I wanted to say crowded my chest. All the memories, all the money, all the weekends I'd skipped to help them fix their store, or babysit Ava, or cover the damn gas bill. But in the end, I typed 2 words. Got it. That was it. That was the moment I stopped explaining, stopped begging to be seen. I wasn't angry yet. I wasn't plotting revenge. I wasn't thinking in bold moves or revenge stories or dramatic exits. I was just numb. And I think that numbness is what saved me, because it didn't let me react. It forced me to see, finally clearly, what I was to them. Not a daughter, a resource, a tool, a backup plan. And tools don't get invited to dinner, they get used. I sat in silence for a long time after that, not crying, not pacing, just absorbing what it means when the people you've sacrificed the most for look at you and say, "You're too difficult to include, too loud, too intense, too inconvenient." Absorbing the fact that my parents, John and Deborah Ford, had made a choice. They didn't forget me, they excluded me, on purpose, and somehow that was worse. It wasn't just a missed holiday, it was proof that I'd never truly belonged, not unless I was useful, and this year I was too much trouble to be worth the invitation. So I set my phone down, got up, and began the quietest, cleanest exit of my life. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was angry. I just couldn't figure out how it had gotten this far without me noticing. By 2 a.m., I was sitting on my floor, laptop open, staring at the folder I had labelled Family Expenses. I clicked in. 152 files, each one a reminder of a time I stepped in and they said nothing. March, 800 files, emergency plumbing bill. May, 2,190, backdated supplier invoice. August, $9,700, taxes they forgot to file. Every single one paid from my account. No contracts, no thank yous, just trust. Or maybe it wasn't trust. Maybe it was expectation dressed up as gratitude. And that realization, it hit harder than the Christmas text. I had poured 3 years of my life into Ford Interiors, not just money, ideas, strategies. I built them a new supply chain from scratch. I rebranded the entire store, even suggested a slogan, crafting spaces that feel like home. My mum laughed at it, said it sounded too corporate. They never used it. But here's where it got interesting. I scrolled through my sent emails and saw an old PDF I'd sent to my dad last year. Logo concepts, store layouts, partnership proposal. None of it was ever mentioned again. And yet, something didn't sit right. So I messaged my niece Ava the next morning. "Hey, sweetheart, did Grandma decorate for the dinner?" She sent me a picture, and I swear I stopped breathing all over again. Right there, on the dinner table, was a banner that read, Ford Interiors 2.0, a new era. Same font, same slogan, my exact proposal. And standing underneath it, my parents, my brother, Madison, raising glasses. They didn't just leave me out, they launched my plan without me. You ever had that moment where your brain goes blank, not from rage, but from betrayal so sharp it short-circuits your logic? Because that was mine, and maybe this is the part where I ask you, if this was you, what would you have done? Would you have called them, confronted them, stayed quiet? I don't know. But I know this. I wasn't about to fight for a seat at a table where my work was served without my name. I didn't scream. I didn't send a dramatic text. I just opened a new document. And I started making a list, not of what I'd lost, but of everything they'd gain when I walked away. I woke up on December 26th with the kind of clarity people usually find on New Year's Day. No resolutions, no maybe next time, just a checklist. First line, stop every automatic payment. I opened my banking app, scrolled to recurring transfers and hit cancel on electricity, water, payroll, supply chain fees, each one a vein running straight from my account into theirs. Every click felt like snipping a wire on a bomb I'd been carrying in my pocket. Second line, reclaim my intellectual property. I still owned the domain registrar login. 10 minutes later, the Ford Interiors website redirected to a white page that said, Site under review for copyright infringement. Polite, surgical. Third line, inform the accountant. Subject, effective termination of informal investment. Dear Mr. Lawson, as of today, I withdraw all financial participation in John and Deborah Ford's business operations. Please redirect outstanding invoices to the legal owners, Camilla Ford. I reread it twice, added a period, and hit send. By noon, the ripple started. A supplier in Ohio called my mother to confirm why the holiday shipment had bounced. An hour later, the landlord emailed my dad flagged urgent, rent 15 days past due. My phone buzzed non-stop, but I'd already switched it to do not disturb. I was busy doing something revolutionary, eating lunch without anxiety. At 3 p.m., Madison tried. Camilla, can't we talk like adults? I didn't owe her adulthood. I owed myself oxygen. By dusk, the family group chat lit up like a Christmas tree on fire. Mum, sweetheart, the lights are flickering here. Is this a mistake? Dad, your actions have legal consequences. Brother, are you really that petty? Petty. That word made me smile, an actual smile, because only people who've never gone unpaid call boundaries petty. I brewed coffee and opened the front window, letting cold air sweep through the apartment. Outside, downtown lights glowed steady. Inside, I drafted the final cut, vendor notice. As of December 26th, 5 o'clock p.m., Camilla Ford holds no fiscal or managerial responsibility for Ford Interiors. Future correspondence should be directed to John and Deborah Ford. PDF attached, BCC'd to every vendor, tax office and credit union in their address book. At 5:08 p.m., I clicked send. Silence followed, beautiful, unbroken silence, until 5:32 p.m., when my father's name flashed across the screen. I let it ring. A second call, then a third. Finally a voicemail. Camilla, don't do this. We're family. The irony stung, but only for a heartbeat. Family is a place you're invited to, not one you have to finance. Night fell. I lit a single candle on the kitchen counter, my own ritual of closure, and watched the wax soften. Somewhere across town, breakers tripped, orders stalled. An uncomfortable girlfriend wondered why champagne suddenly tasted like panic. And me? I breathed deeper than I had in years. I'd been their life support. Now they'd learned to breathe without me, or choke on their own negligence. Either way, the oxygen in my world finally belonged to me. By day 3, the silence wasn't peaceful. For them, it was panic. I woke up to 12 missed calls, 6 from my mother, 2 from my father, 1 voicemail from my brother saying, "You're really going to ruin Christmas over this." Christmas? That ship sank days ago. This wasn't about a holiday, it was about a pattern. Mom sent a voice message next. She always picked her words carefully, like trying to sound soft while hiding the blade. "Sweetheart, this has all been a big misunderstanding. We didn't mean to hurt you. Madison was just nervous. She didn't think you'd take it so personally." I didn't respond. Then came the texts from Dad. "Camilla, you made your point. Now fix this before we lose everything." Fix. That word again. Like I was some kind of wrench they kept in a drawer, only pulled out when something broke. They didn't miss me. They missed the damage control I always brought. They wanted me to erase consequences. Again. At noon, I made tea, sat by the window, let sunlight warm my face while their house, their store, their entire illusion of control crumbled. And that's when my mom showed up at my apartment. No cake, no flowers, no real apology, just the same wide-eyed expression she used when she wanted me to feel guilty for needing boundaries. "We just need a little help. Your father's been trying to save the business. I know we said things we didn't mean." I listened. Then I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. No pretense, no warmth. "You didn't forget Christmas," I told her. "You erased me on purpose because someone else didn't like how I made you uncomfortable." She blinked, lips trembling. But I didn't mistake that for regret. It was fear of losing the resource, not the daughter. "Please," she whispered, "we can't do this without you." I nodded slowly. "You should have thought of that before you handed everything I built to someone who barely knows me." And I walked back inside, not to punish her, but to protect what little I had left that still felt like mine. I stood in front of the courthouse holding a manila folder with 5 documents: name change petition, updated ID application, termination of financial proxies, emergency contact update for Ava, a signed letter to myself. The clerk skimmed the first form. "Changing your name, Miss Ford?" I shook my head. "Changing my story." "Reeve," she read aloud. "Nice, short, easy to remember." It wasn't about easy. It was about mine. Ford had never felt like mine. It was my father's name, his store, their decisions, their erasure, branded into every bank transfer I'd ever made without thanks. I signed the papers in black ink, steady hand, no hesitation. No one was watching, no music played. But still, it felt holy. Afterward, I walked home in silence, not sad, not triumphant, just clear. At home, I opened my laptop and began closing the last open tabs of my old life. Joint savings account, closed. Legal power of attorney, revoked. Access to Ford Interiors, back-end systems, removed. Group family chat, deleted auto-forward email filters from their domains, blocked. And then I did something I'd avoided for years. I opened Ava's school contact forms and listed myself as her sole guardian in case of emergency. No more fallback to Grandma and Grandpa. They had forfeited that right the moment they decided my voice didn't belong in the room. That night, I lit a candle, not for grief, for becoming. Ava noticed the flicker as she walked into the kitchen, clutching her sketchpad. "We lighting one again?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Another cut." Another release. She nodded, like she understood. Maybe she did. She's seen more than she lets on. After dinner, I checked the mailbox. A thick envelope sat waiting. No return address, but the handwriting? I'd know it anywhere. Inside, a 4-page letter from my mother. Rambling, emotional, strategically vague. We've made mistakes. Your father is sick from stress. Your brother regrets everything. Ava misses you. At the bottom, in my father's handwriting, you're still part of this family whether you like it or not. I read it once, then again. Then I stepped out to the balcony, struck a match, and burned the whole thing. The ashes curled like old promises. I whispered aloud, "I'm not your safety net anymore." And it didn't feel cruel, it felt clean. That week, I updated every last trace of connection, bank, insurance, legal forms, even the emergency number on my passport. Small blue diamond. That was the code name I used for the change checklist in my journal. It sounded soft, but it was armor. Because the truth is, people who say you'll always be family only say it when they're scared you finally stopped acting like it. And I had. Completely. Finally. Quietly. Spring came quiet that year. No calls, no emails, no updates from the store, just stillness. I took walks every Sunday, through the same streets I used to rush through, always in fix-it mode. This time, I wasn't fixing anything, just noticing. One morning, I passed by what used to be Ford Interiors. The windows were boarded. A crooked for lease sign flapped in the wind. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel pain. I felt distance, like something heavy had finally been set down. A few blocks away, at a small cafe, I sipped coffee while Ava doodled in her sketchbook beside me. She was humming, nothing in particular, just a quiet tune of contentment. It made my chest ache in the best way. "Is that the old store?" she asked, pointing to a photo I'd printed and pinned to my journal. I nodded. That's the last thing I ever paid for that didn't love me back. She didn't ask more, just held my hand for a second longer than usual. That afternoon, we baked a chocolate cake. No reason, just because we could. And as it cooled, we lit another candle. Our new tradition, every time we let something go that once hurt us, we light a flame and watch it fade. No speeches, no announcements, just release. Later that week, a final letter arrived, handwritten again, my mother's, long, sentimental. But this time it was different. Not because of what it said, but because of what it didn't. There was no apology, no "we were wrong," just guilt cloaked in poetry. "We all need each other. Can't we start over?" I didn't reply. Instead, I opened a brand new journal, first page, clean and white. At the top, I wrote, "This is where the real story starts." Not because they stopped calling, not because I changed my name, but because I finally stopped needing to be loved by people who couldn't even see me. Now, when I walk into my own kitchen, the lights are always on, not because I paid the bill, though I did, but because this place was built on respect and love. The kind without strings, without conditions, the kind that never needs an invitation to exist. And maybe that's the real revenge, not destruction, not proving them wrong, just living fully in a life they can't control. And now I want to ask you something. Have you ever reached that point, the one where you stop fighting for a seat at someone else's table and start building your own? If so, what did you leave behind to make room for peace? Tell me in the comments. You never know who might need your story to light their own way. Camilla Reeve.